This episode is smoking. The Mask is coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. Today, that is Tommy.
Yeah.
I've technically seen The Mask before. I remember watching it when I was like 6 on VHS
Mm.
at a family friend's house in Lake George. Like, I distinctly remember watching it, but obviously did not.
This might have well been a first time watch for you.
It feels like a first time watch, but I have like a very distinct memory of actually watching this movie
Yeah.
from that time period, and it's not like one of those like, oh, I watched Toy Story when I was 6, and people are like, yeah, that makes sense. This doesn't feel like the. I guess when you watch it, it kind of is, but like it's one of those weird movies. I feel like that was very big in the '90s, and I definitely see why this is like the epitome of a '90s movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that there's big swing music in it. I mean, this brought
Oh,
back the swing revival of the
Oh, it
90s.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those movies that's faded into obscurity. We'll touch into it a little bit. I feel like its legacy didn't carry on. It might be because it's overshadowed by two other Jim Carrey performances at the same year,
Yeah.
Ace
Which will,
Ventura and Dumb and Dumber.
yeah. I mean, Jim Carrey was on a fucking heater for this month, to say the least, this year, to say the least. He started off the year with Ace Ventura. The Mask came out in the summer. Dumb and Dumber came out in the winter. And I think even still to this day, those three movies are probably like the first movies that people think of when they think of Jim Carrey. And it's just insane that he had that much of a breakout. I mean, we haven't seen something like that in a while. I guess the closest is maybe Glenn Powell with, Twisters and Anyone But You, and I guess maybe Hitman, but that was a Netflix original. So, but
Yeah,
even then,
it doesn't give the impact, but you can't equate '90s movie stardom and especially comedic movie stardom to like Twisters and Anyone But You came out last year.
yeah,
It came out at the end of 2023, but I guess calendar year it still counts. But
yeah.
yeah, The Mask, fun time. We'll dive into it more in a little bit. But Tommy, what movies have you watched recently?
All right. So about 2 weeks ago, they're doing a bunch of '80s movie screenings, and I got to see a screening of Purple Rain, the Prince movie. Tim, what's your temperature on Prince? Are you a big Prince fan, or are you like, eh?
So I really enjoy Prince when I listen to him. My
Yeah,
Prince take is that he was very protective of his music.
yeah,
Um, in the age of the transition from physical media to iTunes to digital music. So his
yeah.
music wasn't really anywhere to be found at the time that like I was like exploring like all the 70s, 80s music.
Mm.
So it was like really hard to like find. And then I listened to Purple Rain in 2016 after he died. Like I literally bought the album to listen to it because like
Yeah, yeah.
he died, and then they were just like, yeah, let's put all of his music on iTunes now. His estate
Immediately.
was like, let's
Yeah.
all right,
He's
yeah,
dead. We can just get this out here.
let's start printing that money. I mean, it's a fantastic album. He's like a real precision artist, a lot of great flair
Yeah.
as a musician. I've heard that the movie Purple Rain, it's either to your taste or it's not to your taste.
So, I've seen the movie once before. I have a similar history of Prince. I wasn't really familiar with him that much. I mean, I knew who he was, obviously, but
I feel
like you
like
said,
that's our generation too, is very specifically like that with Prince, where like we
yeah,
just don't have this connection to him that people that were young in like the '80s, like that were in their 20s and
yeah.
big
I think that's the
teens.
problem compared to I mean, as a classic rock nerd, there's like all those other bands back in the '80s that we're all like really familiar with, like Guns N' Roses or like even Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And the problem with Prince was that he wasn't on physical media. But when Prince died in 2016, that was my senior year of college. And me and my buddies, that became our pregame music for the rest of the semester. We just put on Purple Rain, and we'd be like, all right, we're getting fucked up to Prince right now. So, anyways, I saw a screen of Purple Rain 2 weeks ago, and it was so great to see us on the big screen. It's only the second time I saw it. The first time I saw it was on a plane back in 2016. And it's a movie that like overall is kind of mediocre, and like the acting itself is like kind of shitty, but it's the fact that the music is so amazing that it makes it a great movie. And the performances are incredible. I mean, the album, you can't beat the album. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. And it's one of those music concert films, kind of essentially, where the narrative behind it is like, it's fine. It gets the job done. Prince isn't a great actor. Most of the people in the movie aren't a great actor, but it's that 80s cheese that takes it over the top. And seeing on the big screen with like loud ass speakers was incredible. And it was really funny because me and my buddy were the only people in the movie theater that were probably like around our age, like in our 30s or 20s.
It
And
reminded me of what that reminds me of when I went and saw Horizon part
oh,
one. And I
yeah,
was the only person in that theater 30 or below, man. Everybody else in that theater was the retirement home. It was a pretty full theater though.
yeah. I mean, like the same thing for Purple Rain. It was full theater, the screening, and the person that sat next to us, she was like in her 50s, and she was crying her eyes out during the last scene when Prince plays Purple Rain. But overall, I mean, just a great time in the movies. I mean, it's a movie that I definitely rewatch, but it's not a movie that I'm gonna say is like amazing, but it's just fucking fun. It's just a fun ass cheesy 80s.
Yeah, the only I'm not the biggest concert movie person, but I did watch the Last Waltz, the band, which was filmed by Scorsese. And that one was very interesting because it was the band's final performance. And true to their word, they never got together again, which I respect the hell out of. I'm so sick of bands breaking up. Like Oasis, those brothers hate each other to the point that like they would never reunite. And I'm guessing one looked at their bank account and went, "Oh, this isn't good.
Yeah,
How can I make a lot of money quickly?
like oh shit,
Hey,
let's just bring back the boys.
hey, I'm sorry. Want to make a quick £100 million really quick next summer?
Well, let's
Because
be real. There's people taking bets right now about like how soon is Oasis going to get into a fight on one of the tour shots. I mean, it's just insane that they're getting back together.
I saw the Police when they did their reunion tour,
Yeah,
and the Police hate each other's guts. Like those three guys do not get along. And I could just tell because I always say the Police was the worst concert I ever went to, not because they didn't sound good, but because it was a really boring show. They just stood in place for 90 minutes, played, and
yeah,
then called it. Like they would just sit there, be like they just played their song. I think Sting said fuck once, and then that
yeah.
was the end of the show. And it was like it just felt very disappointing. Like they just like lacked the kind of energy that you'd want out of a band, especially like the Police with like all this like, they have like a lot of like upbeat tempo songs, like a lot of classics, like just like driving bluesy drums, and I was just like, yeah, that show sucked. And I can imagine the Oasis concert disappointing a lot of people when people spend $300 to $400 to go see Oasis and they get 90-minute concert out of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
And
either going to be boring as hell or it's going to be really entertaining because they're just going to you can feel the animosity.
I feel like one of the guys is going to like one of the shows is going to be dramatic.
Yeah, without a
Uh,
doubt.
so a movie
But
I watched recently. Sorry, continue before I go ahead.
but I was gonna say, but anyways, go see Purple Rain if you're a fan of Prince. It's a fun musical document of the Minneapolis music scene too. So
So we all speak highly of the Minneapolis music scene. Anyway, I saw Crazy Stupid Love. Have you ever seen that, Tom?
I've seen parts of it, but not all the way through.
We
Rom
that
com
might
for February.
that it might need to be covered sooner. It's actually a really good rom-com. It
Yeah,
like follows the tropes of a rom-com, but kind of twists it on its head and just like has a very interesting character examination for both Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is like the most understated movie star, I feel like. He's in it feels like everything he's in is good.
yeah,
Like I didn't think Barbie was that good of a movie, but his
he was
performance as
great in
Ken
it.
was amazing.
Yeah,
I feel like he's one of those guys that just elevates everything that comes up to it. He's like people are like, oh, Tom Cruise is the last movie star. I'm like, Ryan Gosling is a goddamn movie star.
hmm.
Like he doesn't do the action stuff, but like he carries a lot of dramatic comedic roles. Like I don't know. I'm a Ryan Gosling guy, and just a really fun rom-com, really good. Kind of surprising because it came out in 2011, and it felt like that was like the dying end age of rom-coms. I feel like it's like right at the tail end.
Yeah, I
Where
mean, pretty much that was like a right around the time where streaming started to take over. So now
we
we don't really see us at movies nearly as much as we used to.
and we didn't get streaming movie like we didn't get streaming movies right away. It took a couple of years. This is right when everybody started getting a Netflix account.
Yeah,
But they put what Orange is the New Black and House of Cards were like their first two, I think like 2012-ish, somewhere around
yeah.
that, like their
The
first
first
original.
Netflix original was Lilyhammer. I just googled this, which no one really remembers, I imagine. Steven Van Zandt. That's 2012, and then House of Cards 2013. That's when they really started taking off in terms of the originals.
Lilyhammer, that sounds like a good piece of trivia. What was the first Netflix original?
And
And
everyone's gonna
everybody's
guess House of Cards, and it's like, nope, it's Lilyhammer. Fuck.
no, it's you don't remember Lilyhammer? You can't even find it on Netflix anymore. They would
Do
never
you
recommend it to you.
do you not even like Steven Van Zandt? Apparently, they took it off Netflix. So I mean, like,
They took it off Netflix?
I'm pretty sure if I'm not incorrect right there. They took off Lilyhammer because it was like a BBC thing, I think. Or
Oh, it's
no,
like one of those like BBC partnership shows. So it's
yeah,
not even like a really a Netflix exclusive. It was just exclusively shown in the United States on Netflix.
yeah,
But it's a BBC show. So then that's not really the first Netflix original. I think the first original is Orange is the New Black.
yeah. So
So we
well,
just went on a tangent. It's the death of comedies. Yeah, I feel like comedies just shifted towards streamers. You can make them cheap. They don't end up giving that big of a box office return. So why even put them in the box office to begin with? We can get subscribers, and we're in the age of the streaming bubble. It's
it's
getting
the
ready
kind.
to pop. It's getting ready to pop, Tommy.
I think people are starting to get a little bit annoyed with it because, like, I feel like when a movie goes straight to Netflix, it just goes to die. I mean, we had a new Beverly Hills Cop movie come out like a month ago. I posted this on Twitter, and it was a decent like follow up to Beverly Hills Cop. It was not a bad sequel, and it already has no cultural cachet whatsoever. And if this movie was in theaters, we'd probably be talking about the way Bad Boys for Life is getting done, or Bad Boys 4, which is not Bad Boys for Life. But anyways,
Whichever bad boys.
yeah. I mean, the Bad Boys movie is similar quality, and that was released in theaters, and people are still talking about that to an extent. So, it's just the power of like releasing a movie in theaters, whereas straight to streaming just has this weird, like, just gets lost in some ether, I feel.
So before we go into the mask, I do want to make a confession, Tommy, because I was
Yeah.
going through the episodes that we recorded. I was just going through the list. I genuinely do not remember the episode on Reality Bites, which we apparently did this year. Genuinely have that movie left such a little impression on me.
Well, you didn't
What
like it at all. Yeah.
I didn't like it. But then I saw the name Reality Bites. I was like, what movie even is this? And then I pulled it up and then I was like, oh, it was that one. Yeah, I didn't like that one. I didn't like that one at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was I don't I just wanted to let that out to our audience. Sometimes these movies are so unimpressionable, but it's weird because I remember the perks of being a wallflower, of me being like, oh, that movie sucked really hard. Is
I
really
think
of
that's
like a
because I think that's because that's a movie that we've brought up multiple times on the podcast about like, yeah,
I
fuck that
think
movie.
it was also like the first bad movie that we both watched that we agreed on. We're just like, ugh, ugh.
I'll tell you this: I remember watching it, but I don't remember shit about Sorcerer, and that's a movie I need to rewatch because I remember at the episode.
Sorcerer was great. You don't remember
That
the
was it.
bridge crossing?
I vaguely remember that, but that's also a movie where like I had a bad day at work when I watched that movie and when we recorded. So like I was kind of like not really paying attention all the way. Yeah, exactly. Wah. So I need to rewatch it under a better circumstance right there.
I feel
I
like
mean,
that movie would play hard in a theater.
oh yeah. I mean, Tim, how do you remember Evil Dead, the remake?
Ugh. I remember I watched it.
Yeah.
I remember watching it and being like, wow, this lost all the fun and spontaneity of the original two. An Army of
Oh,
Darkness. Like
I
I
loved it.
loved Army of Darkness. I remember
Yeah,
that one. And that was long before we did Evil Dead remake.
yeah.
So I don't know. I
We've
was
been doing
just
this for a while, folks.
we got over 100 episodes. But
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up because I was going through the list of episodes and I was like, wait.
That wasn't even that long ago. That was like maybe
That's what I
six,
mean. That's
that
what
was
I
like maybe
mean.
5 months ago.
That's what I mean. Like this was in like the spring, and
Yeah.
I zero impact on me. I got to start putting more suggestions in there because sometimes you pick some strange one, Showgirls. That one I will remember just because it was bafflingly bizarre movie. Uh, but anyway, a movie that was a big movie at the time, The Mask.
Under control.
Did you miss me?
That's the guy.
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
I want him here tomorrow, alive.
Now you have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Do ya? Punks.
Jim Carrey is The Mask. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday. Special advance preview Thursday.
So that the one-armed man confession was a Twin Peaks reference, right?
No. That was the Fugitive reference.
That was a Fugitive reference. I thought that was a Twin Peaks reference. I'm
Which
going to
that's
be
the movie we
completely.
haven't seen though that we need to cover.
I haven't seen that since like middle school. I remember that's a TNT movie right there, The Fugitive. That's one that I have a distinct memory of like watching all the way through on TNT.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something we will cover in the future. But yeah, no, that's Fugitive reference all day.
Fugitive. Oh, I thought it was a Twin Peaks reference, but anyway, I had to just get that out there. The Mask. This is one of those Jim Carrey A Star Is Born moment. It's a Cameron Diaz A Star Is Born moment. So Cameron Diaz, I want to just touch on this quickly because we were talking about this beforehand, before the show, because this is a baffling piece of trivia.
She was mostly known as a model beforehand. Like, yeah. I'll let you tell the rest of it.
So I was going through her IMDb because it says in the movie, it says introducing Cameron Diaz. And when it says introducing, typically that means they've at least never been in a film before. Sometimes they'll introduce somebody who's been on television before, but if they're making their motion picture debut in a lead role, they'll just be the final title, then they'll just say introducing. So this was the first piece of work that she was in, was The Mask. But right below it on IMDb, there's a video called, or I guess it says video. She's No Angel, Cameron Diaz, which is a softcore pornography film that she was in 1992 when she was 20, hopefully. And yeah, there was no reference of that on her career page on Wikipedia. There was apparently a big old lawsuit about it, and that was all I could find about it. It just baffles me that like her team has not done everything in their power to get that taken off of her.
It's the internet. It's one of those things that just like unfortunately
you can't kill it because it's not even that it just says she's no angel. It says she's no angel, and then in her and just Cameron Diaz right next to it, like post titled.
If I remember correctly, this is like something that she filmed like before The Mask, like in the early 90s,
Oh, yeah.
like when she's first getting her start out. And they made that title because it was like capitalizing off the success of Charlie's Angel, where it's like Cameron Diaz, she's no angel. She's not
And
Charlie's
then
Angel.
she went on to be in Charlie's Angels.
So
funny enough.
yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, after that movie came out, they're like, okay, let's retell this as She's No Angel.
Yeah, of course. What else would you do if you're sitting on weird footage of Cameron Diaz from the 90s that was worth nothing in 1992 when you filmed it,
So
but is worth
yeah.
a whole lot more right now?
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things we were texting before while you were watching this movie, where when they introduced Cameron Diaz in this movie,
Oh,
It's
one of the
the
great movies
immediate-
star
it's-
moments.
yeah, it's immediately like, okay, here is the next actress that everyone's gonna be obsessed about for the next like 2 years. Right.
Yeah, this is the next star of the decade, and so basically, Jim Carrey plays a hapless banker, which I've never seen a banker who's that hapless before. But anyway, there's a thunderstorm outside, and she walks into the bank, and she's in a stunning red dress, and we don't see her face. And then it goes down to her fixing her heel. The camera's down low and then it pans up as she's getting up. Spends a appropriate amount of time on her chest before panning to her face, and I was like, "Wow, that's the shot I'm talking about." When I was talking about the one with Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney, I know you mentioned the title before, but Anyone But You. It's like, where was this kind of shot in that movie for both of them? Because they both kind of need that. Oh, this is a star moment. Like
Yeah.
if you knew nothing, if you went to this in 1994, you probably went, "Who is this actress, and why have I not seen her in anything else before?"
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a situation where like, oh shit, holy fuck! Like, when they casted this role, they wanted originally Anna Nicole Smith, which you can kind of see that working in a way, even though she's not a good actress. From my
I
memory.
I don't think you need to be a good actress to pull off Tina Carlisle.
Yeah. I mean, not that I don't even think Cameron Diaz is the greatest actress in the world either. But you know,
No,
she's a lot better than
she was a sex symbol of the 90s.
yeah, exactly. But she's a lot better than Anna Nicole Smith. But apparently, they when they didn't want like Cameron Diaz because they thought she wasn't like busty enough. So
Oh,
that's why they made her wear this like tight red dress to like accentuate her features and stuff like that. So great stuff in Hollywood right there.
that's 90s Hollywood for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, but overall, I mean, this movie, first time watch, it was just very charming and a hilarious movie. It just shows Jim Carrey like this is pretty much him showing everyone you're gonna love me. You loved me in Ace Ventura that came out 4 months ago. I'm here to stay. This is an announcement that like this is not one time. Like
I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm here to dominate your life for the next decade.
So
Um,
we talked about it before, how like this was his heater year where he had Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and before then he was pretty much known as like a bit player, and like a character actor kind of guy. He had like bit parts and like Peggy Sue Got Married. He was in this like movie called Once Bitten that wasn't really like a big hit at the time. He was in the last Dirty Harry movie, The Deadpool, as like this like Axl Rose type figure. That's pretty much what he's known for, and also in Living Color at the
in
time.
Living Color was where he got his notoriety because he also did stand up at the time, I think, too.
Yeah,
Um,
yes. So Living Color, he was on from like 90 to 94. He left obviously after he broke as a movie star. Go.
you have The Mask, you have Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber come out in the same year. Yeah, you don't need to do In Living Color anymore. You can just let that one go to the wayside. It's like George
Yeah,
Clooney leaving ER.
yeah, exactly. So it's just amazing seeing like his little comic energy. And it's just the greatest like application of just like building the character towards actor sensibilities right here, where the mask is just like unrestrained. And it's hilarious because apparently this comic was
Go.
oh apparently this comic was like a Dark Horse comic that was like a very like violent horror based almost, where it's just like the mask was like something that would make a character like kill people violently. And New Line originally wanted this to be like a horror movie, their next horror franchise. And then the director Chuck Russell was like, no, like let's make this a comedy. Let's work as a comedy instead. So it's completely different with the IP. Whereas nowadays the IP is sacred, whereas back then it's like, hey, fuck it, there's a mask and Jim Carrey can work for it, whatever.
Yeah, it's a mask, and you can just he wears it, and he's Loki. Okay, he's a god of mischief. What mischievous things can we make Jim Carrey do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this movie is really carried by Jim Carrey's performance. I
Mhm.
didn't think it was hilarious. I thought it was really goofy in a Looney Tunes kind of way. That made me breathe air out of my nose heavily a bunch of times, but not in a like cracking up laughing sort of way. I it this is a live action cartoon is what this
Yeah.
movie is. And they kind of, Chuck Russell and the team realized with Jim Carrey and coming off of Ace Ventura, but these were probably all filmed back to back. Like they clearly realized that this guy's greatest strengths as an actor, at least at this time as a comedian, was his ability to just morph his face into anything at all and changing his voice and his diction and just his like over the top buffoonery like it and really leaning
Well,
into that performance.
Well, they say that apparently like special effects like they didn't have to spend that much money on them because Jim Carrey was cast. So instead of having to like do like CGI or like trickery, like all this flexible cartoon stuff, or like Jim Carrey just do that himself.
There's definitely some CGI in this. Let's not get
Well,
it.
yeah. But I'm saying
Um,
like they didn't have to spend as much as they would have if they cast like someone else.
I have a soft spot in my heart for early CGI. Just
Yeah.
looking at it and knowing it was
Well,
put on it was built on a brick like that is
well,
less powerful than your phone that is in your
yeah.
pocket, and they just put like kind of looking good, but also looking like it was made by like definitively by
Well,
a computer. Like there's no uncanny valley there. It lives
here's
there.
what I'll say. There's a lot of like movies that we watch, like special effects wise, from like the early '90s to mid '90s that like don't hold up whatsoever. And we watch them like, oh god, like what's going on right there? It's like fucking shit right there. Like, you can't be with this stuff. Even when you get like I Am Legend and stuff like that, like 10 years later. But The Mask, the CGI was not great, but I think it worked for the movie because it was cartoonish.
Yeah, and they leaned into the cartoonish because when we see Stanley's character and he comes back to his apartment, he puts on a VHS of old cartoons and he has the smoking dog who I can't remember which cartoon that one was. He's not a Looney Tune or a Disney character. So I'm not that well versed.
Some public domain shit, probably.
At this point, probably some public domain shit right now. I like recognize the cartoon they put on there, but not there. And he had like a Tasmanian devil pillow,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, so they're leaning into like they're letting you know, the audience being like, hey, when he puts that mask on, it's about to get real cartoony, which is like they're subconsciously letting you know, being like, hey, this is our influence.
Yeah. And the fact he's wearing like the Tasmanian devil shirt and stuff like that. The mask, like it works with the character too, because the mask pretty much makes the character unrestrained, and his unrestrained version is acting cartoonish. That's why he like spins around like Tasmanian devil. So just to circle back real quick on special effects, we were joking about how like cheesy it looks, and this was nominated for the best visual effects at the Oscars and lost to Forrest Gump, which we covered Forrest Gump. I can't remember any special effects that would make an Oscar win.
Uncle Lieutenant Dan's legs, dude.
Oh, there, yeah, but
It's one of the best like blue screens of the time.
yeah.
They also did a lot of did a lot of de-aging. They did a lot of green screen trickery with Forrest at specific historical events that actually looks really good. So there's actually a lot of visual effects that they did in that movie, even though you wouldn't think of it that way. But like he meets like every living president at that time, and it all looks fairly convincing.
Yeah. Again, a movie we covered on the pod, covered 2 years ago. It's been a while since I thought about it.
Run, Forrest, run. That's so weird that it didn't stick with you. It's like an iconic American film.
Oh, no. Lots of it stuck with me, but the special effects part did not.
Oh, that's fair. It's not, I don't think it's really remembered essentially as a special effects movie, but it's one of those where it's like The Mask or Forrest Gump, what's realistically going to win at the Oscars? And it's going to be Forrest Gump. Like Forrest Gump beat out Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption for best picture. 94 is an incredible year for movies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why we're celebrating this movie. This movie is celebrating its 30th anniversary, which came out 30 years ago last month. But yeah, so I mean, overall though, I mean, like, in terms of like, it's kind of funny, like looking back on like seeing how like superhero movies were kind of made like 30 years ago, where they just didn't really care about the source material whatsoever, and it kind of was more just like a noirish type of vibe for a lot of them, like specific, like the villain for this movie.
It's the Burton Batman set the tone for all the 90s superhero movies that came
exactly
out.
like we had the Burton Batman came out, and then we had all these like different like knockoffs of like the Spear with Alec Baldwin come out, and Rocketeer and shit like that. I was like, oh, we're going to do this whole noir vibe, and this movie kind of has some of that similar vibes to the Burton Batman in terms of like
it has the campiness of the Burton Batman. That was the only aspect it borrowed from that. I kind of felt like Roger Rabbit was weirdly an influence on this movie.
I can see that. Yeah. And
just from the cartoonishness, like with the first scene when he puts on the mask and the landlady's right down there and he's trying to get the clock, like he pulls the clock out and the hammer. I was like, this is straight out of Roger Rabbit. And you can just feel that influence of those, Looney Tunes, 40s, 50s cartoons. Like it's almost like a love letter to those, which works in his strengths. Like for me, I feel like, and because it's kind of tough because I know this is classified as a comedy, but I don't I didn't see it in the way that I see other comedies, like where I see a movie like Talladega Night, where it just like it abandons its characters and has a loose leaf plot just for the comedy. I didn't really feel that from here. I just saw they were just like, let's give Jim Carrey a vehicle to be as wacky as humanly possible and have a couple dance numbers and call it a day.
Yeah, I think the dance numbers were like where the comedy kind of really shined, and like the moments of him like sticking out his tongue cartoonish like a wolf type thing. Within that aspect, so we're talking so much about how like Jim Carrey like made this movie. Here's people that are up for the role too. So Nicolas Cage, Matthew Broderick, Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, Martin Short, Keanu Reeves, Mike Myers, John Ritter, and Robin Williams.
Keanu
Keanu would have been awful. I think Nicolas Cage could have worked. Steve Martin could have worked.
Steve Martin could have worked, but they had they got the right guy.
Yeah, exactly. They had the right guy. He was right on the heater right there. And it's funny that they got him at a discount because they negotiated his salary before Ace Ventura came out. That became a surprise hit. And they're like, oh shit, we could have gotten this guy for more expensive. We got him a huge discount. That's fucking good.
We got him. We got him right. They it's good talent. It's a good eye for talent. Somebody was
and then when Dumb and Dumber came out later that year, he got paid $7 million for that movie because already Ace Ventura was a hit, and it's like, okay, I can negotiate this a little more.
Yeah, with this one, he didn't really have that negotiating power when that was probably in pre or post production or what have you. I think I have some issues with this movie. There's just not really a lot of character in this movie. It's got really weak villains and kind of like a very nonsensical plot.
Yeah,
I kind of got
forgettable.
I kind of got bored when the mask wasn't on the screen.
I'll agree with you. I think that there was a point in this movie where like
it's short. It's 100 minutes. It's a short movie.
Yeah. I think that it's 101 minutes overall, and like I think that by the time it was like getting to the third act, I was just kind of like, let's get this over with.
Yeah, and they put this like thinly veiled metaphor where they show Ben Stein on the screen, on the TV, talking about like the masks within us and how we hide behind our different masks, right? Then Jim Carrey puts on the mask, but the real power of the mask that it gave him was the ability to become his true confident self, which means, aka, he turns into an action hero in the third act of the movie.
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, and then like Tina was like weirdly obsessed with Stanley, like this loser banker. She was like, "You're the only person who treats me like a real human," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is weird." You walked into the bank initially with a video camera in your purse to scope out for these gangsters, these bank robbers who have zero motivation. They're completely lifeless and boring, just generic movie villains.
It feels like outside the two of them, and like Peter Regar, I think is kind of fun at some.
The cops are fun. They have their slapstick moments. It's all very slapsticky and fun. So I don't.
Yeah, but
I don't.
But it's a movie that like you're just waiting for the next moment to put on the mask again.
Yes.
So when the villain puts on the mask, it's just like he's just a
bad
boring like brute. He's like, oh, now I'm more aggressive and powerful. Whatever.
Yeah, he just becomes he becomes a heavy, and it's just
like I watched this movie on like Monday, I think, and we're recording this on a Thursday. Like 4 days later, I barely remember the film.
There's
nothing.
I just watched this. I watched this a couple hours ago. There's nothing to remember about him.
Exactly.
And so like watching this now, I can kind of see why this one didn't, because like this movie made $351 million in the 90s. Not adjusted for inflation, on $18 to $23 million budget. So like this movie was very popular, made a lot of money. I think it's clearly like a star power movie because you go, oh, Jim Carrey's incredible in this, and then you got to see the girl who's in this too, Madon, because Cameron Diaz is gorgeous in this movie. I can absolutely see why. It's her character she's just a club singer, right?
Yeah,
like she doesn't really have a character to her, but this was the 90s. They didn't always write characters for women back then. I don't know what to tell you, but it was she was just kind of there.
What's insane to think about is because of the three movies that we've talked about throughout this whole podcast, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, and this, The Mask was most critically successful, and it grossed the most money. You know, Ace Ventura, you could say like that was the beginning. It wasn't really a breakout star yet. That was the beginning of its breakout. And then you think Dumb and Dumber would have grossed a lot more, but Dumb and Dumber did not gross more than this, which is insane. Because I guess maybe because the cartoonish aspects of this movie kind of translated a little bit more overseas than would have like compared to the
Yeah.
cartoon.
Well, you
But-
have because you have the mask, right? Like you said, this was like a like this submits who he is, but like the three of them are like this is a comedic presence. Then he has Batman Forever, which I feel like is his real breakout moment. Because even though it's not like highly regarded movie, like he was great as the Riddler in that, and then you have Ace Ventura 2, The Cable Guy, Liar Liar, into the Truman Show. Like
Yeah.
that's frankly a pretty impressive run.
Basically, 94 like catapulted him to superstardom. In 95, Batman Forever been like this guy is 100% A-list, and you're going to be seeing him over and over and over again, which you probably already thought going into Batman Forever. So it's just insane, like thinking about like how like but 30 years later, I think The Mask is a movie that like is not really talked about nearly as much as Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber. To the point where like I didn't really see a bunch of like articles about like, oh, The Mask turned 30. Like here's looking
Well,
back at it.
That's because this movie is a cartoon, and it's not a comedy in the sense that you think of a typical adult comedy. It's not a comedy in the way that Ace Ventura is. It's not a comedy in the way that Dumb and Dumber is. It's literally a cartoon, and for the 20 minutes that Jim Carrey wears the mask, you're having a great old time. The rest of the movie, snooze. Like,
Oh yeah, because overall, I mean, I like Chuck Russell's other films. He going into this was more of a hard director. He made my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie, Dream Warriors. And he also,
that would be a good one for us to do.
yeah, that's a really fun one. That's the one where Freddy says to a girl, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." You know,
Spoilers,
cinema.
Jesus.
Yeah, cinema. That's what I go to. And he made the remake of The Blob from the 80s, which is a fun beat with Kevin Dillon as the lead. So going into, we don't have like, Ace Ventura had Tom Shadyac, who did like a bunch of like, movies in that era, like Nutty Professor and Liar Liar, Bruce Almighty even, and then Dumb and Dumber's the Farley Brothers. Those guys I think are better directors than Chuck Russell is.
Yeah, I think this one, I just like watching it. I just got why it's kind of a forgotten 90s relic at this point. Why it's not getting this 30th anniversary fanfare. Like, let's re-release it in theaters, because the studios are realizing like, hey, people actually like watching old movies. We'll put it in there for a night, make $1 million. We didn't have to do anything for it. It's a good way to get people to a movie theater on a Tuesday, but it's not really with this one, because there's just like, watch the YouTube clips of Jim Carrey wearing the mask, and then
Yeah.
like
It's
the
funny,
more I
this-
sit after watching The Mask again, the more I go, oh, that's why I saw this when I was 6 and was like, that was fun because I was 6, and like, what didn't I like when I was 6?
And then
And
there was a brief franchise to this. There was a cartoon, and apparently they wanted to make a sequel of Jim Carrey, but he said no because he didn't like doing the sequel to Ace Ventura. He's like, that doesn't challenge me. And instead, in 2005, they made The Son of Mask, which is regarded as one of the worst films of all fucking time. And instead of Jim Carrey, they have Jamie Kennedy from Scream in it. Where I love Scream and I love Jamie Kennedy in that movie. He's no Jim Carrey.
well, it's kind of hard to be like, The Mask 2, you're going to be in it. You don't get a star on the rise there. You get a star on the decline. You're
And
not.
I do have to point this out about Son of Mask. This is the most hilarious thing I've ever seen in a movie before in my life on Wikipedia, where it says The Son of Mask is a 2005 comedy film, and it has a citation for where it says comedy film.
On Wikipedia, it says citation needed.
Yeah, or it has a citation that says this is why it's called a comedy film. It's like a link to the IMDb like description.
In quotes, comedy film. I will
Yeah.
say that the far and away the best scene in this movie was, I think, the dance number at the Coco Cabana Club.
Yeah.
That was by far and away. That's when I was like, oh yes, okay, let's go. Jim
This-
Carrey,
this-
never take this mask off again, and then he kept taking the mask off.
Yeah, and then unfortunately he kept on finding ways to take the mask off. Because there's some other funny parts where like, you know, I did like the beginning of the movie though, where he's the sad sack and he's trying to get in the nightclub and like everyone's
He's
taking
in the
advantage of him.
loser club. Yeah, I actually thought they set the movie up fine. It was like after that nightclub scene when you kind of saw the mask's full potential, that you were like, that I was like, oh, okay, here we go, yeah. And then after that, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, can you put the mask on again, please? And then when he loses the mask to the bad guy and he has to fight to get it back, I was like, oh, oh
Yeah.
no. There was also that really weird twist with the news reporter, Peggy. She's in the movie for 2 scenes. She comes in like after the mask does his first night and he shoves the rods up the mechanic's ass who were screwing him over on his car. She's like, "Oh, you're the one who wrote this letter about being a sad, lonely man. There were hundreds of women who loved him. Just call my personal number." And then she randomly just hunts him down after seeing him take off the mask, but then sells him out to the mob for $50,000. I was like, "Wow, that motivation wasn't set up whatsoever. Like, where did this twist come from?" It was way out of left field twist in the movie from like a character I didn't care about.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, well,
Exactly.
how do we keep the plot moving along? Like that's what it felt like to me.
It reminded again, like going back on the Tim Burton Batman thing, where remember in Tim Burton's Batman, there's that one character that was a reporter that wasn't Kim Basinger, that was just like the random dude that was like
Oh
Kim
yeah,
Basinger's
yeah,
coworker.
yeah.
Yeah, that felt like it felt like that character. Where it was just like, all right, like, do we really need this reporter character in this?
They just loved putting reporter characters in the movie at this time, in movies at this time. But
Yeah.
I think I think the mask just really suffers from like not being able to maintain its energy and humor
And
when the
yeah,
mask is off.
it's the pacing. No, the only time I think that it does, like when the mask is off, is when he goes to Ben Stein's office and he gives the whole exposition
Yes.
stuff to Ben Stein about what's happening.
Yes,
And
that was a
I
good
was
scene.
I was 100% expecting the scene to be like Ben Stein being like, "Well, now I'm not believing you," and then he sees it happen, and he's like, "Oh my god!" He's running out the office screaming. And instead, it goes for the opposite reaction of like, "It's not working for some reason." And
He's like, I don't typically specialize in mental health patients, but I can get you in a safe place tonight.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that he mentioned Loki. I was like, wow, that's somebody that like pop culture osmosis today.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knows who he is through the Marvel movies, but in 1994, he's just referenced as like a Nordic god, and people probably would not have known him there. So it's basically mentioned that Loki, the Nordic god banished by Odin, was put into this mask. That's kind of like the whole premise of it. Or at least the background description they give for the mask, because they're just like, well, we got to try to explain this somehow. Like, I don't know. What do you think we got to explain it as? But yeah, this is a movie for sure.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Tommy, who is the star of The Mask?
This is a very easy one for us. I'm gonna have to go with Jim Carrey. Obviously, like we said, he carries this movie. The movie feels a little lifeless when he's not on screen, and it would be worse without him.
Yeah, this movie would not have made $300 million if Jim Carrey was not in it. It's clearly Jim Carrey. Everybody else is fine in The Mask. Peter Reigart is fun. I feel like he's really the only one that I would think is fun. He had his friend Charlie, played by Richard Jenny, who it was very weird. He was like the rom-com guy friend, but it wasn't really a rom-com. So
Yeah,
he was
it's
just
just
kind
like-
of there, his coworker who just like abandons him at the club in the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is hilarious.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there," but he's always like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" It's just, it's a forgettable character. None of these characters, other than Jim Carrey, are memorable.
Well,
And
none-
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, Jim Carrey gets Stanley Ipkiss gets the very basic like background setup for a character at the beginning, and then they just kind of like abandon it. But at least like we get some kind of character for this guy. Nobody else is any character, man. There's just it's lifeless outside of that. And again, it's a big issue why when the mask is on, the mask is on. But when the mask is off, the movie's off.
Yeah.
Because I want to turn it off my television when the mask isn't on.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, Tommy. Would The Mask work as a Muppet adaptation? And I think this is a very rare case of when we can take a source material and just enhance it by adding the Muppets' presence to a slapstick comedy
All right, so
like The Mask.
so first of all, there's one way you can do it where Kermit could easily slide into the Jim Carrey role,
No, no, no,
Uh,
no.
but you have to keep Jim Carrey. I feel like you keep Jim Carrey in your bones.
He's Mitch Kellaway, and then Fozzie is his doofus partner. The other guy there, like you have there Cameron Diaz. You could put Piggy in that role. You just fill out the world with Muppets, and this movie is drastically entertaining, like much more entertaining. Just
Yeah.
because now everybody can be slapsticky and cartoony at all times. And that's my opinion. I think this movie would be a masterpiece if the Muppets were in it.
So Disney, if you want to revive this IP that you don't own, put your Muppets in it.
Disney, we know how much you love buying IPs and running them into the ground. Why don't you do it with The Mask?
People
I got
forgot
you.
about the Jamie Kennedy sequel. It's been 20 years since that one. It's okay. You can
That
go back.
that doesn't count. Well, it's non-canon, as we like to say.
Exactly.
It's a non-canon event. All right, Tommy, review time. Give me a score to 5.
So I think like after the course of us talking through the movie, I have to agree with you where this movie just feels like it's just missing
A
energy
story.
the
It's
second-
missing a story.
No, yeah, it's missing energy the second Jim Carrey's off. Well, when Jim Carrey's out, this movie works, especially when he has the mask on. And it's just really hilarious. Or maybe not even hilarious, but just like charming and fun. And like the musical sequences are good. And I think that he's just great threat. And like I said, this is his cementing his status right here as a lister. But I'm going to go with 2.5 out of 5 because half this movie works and half this movie doesn't. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2 out of 5 just because it's a little less than half of this movie that works and more that doesn't work. It's really a star-making performance. If you're really interested in Jim Carrey's history, it's a quick 90 minutes in and out. Definitely watch it, and you'll have a good time with the movie. I think it really lacks from any character. And I find a lot of times that movies that tend to fail either lack characters in general or lack any way to make the audience resonate and empathize with their characters. So for me, 2 out of 5, has its really fun moments. It's the 2 big dance sequences with the mask on. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. But outside of that, it's kind of like, except for the part with the dog breaking him out of jail. That was pretty cute too.
Yeah.
That was pretty cute too. But yeah, so that was The Mask. We've been teasing it all summer, and we finally covered it at the end of summer.
And then
Look
we
at us
both realized
go.
this movie's kind of end.
We've watched it, and then we're like, oh,
Maybe we
I
should have
guess
pushed
that's-
this back.
we should have just this should have just been our forever like, yeah, we'll cover it. We'll
Yeah.
cover it.
And we're even releasing this episode a day later than we usually do. So
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
well, thank you guys so much for listening to our Jim Carrey podcast right here. But you can follow us on social media at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, your occasional thread. And also leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Helps grow the show, helps us out in general. And next month for September, we have a bunch of bangers coming up. We're taking off next week for Labor Day, but then we're coming back.
Thank you,
Tim Burton's
laborers.
coming up. Yeah. Tim Burton's coming out of Beetlejuice. So we're going to be covering that movie. We're going to be covering Ed Wood. And then later this month, we have
Love Ed Wood.
Kindergarten Cop coming up. And we also have some special guests to cover the King of Comedy, Robert De Niro. So.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's gonna be a great month of September. Thank you all so much for listening today. We will see you next time.